This content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill no one.
Wait a second.
No.
We return to our planet. The High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies. We like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin vs. the World, and this is another First Impressions. That show where I watch things, and I give you my very first impression for the first time I've seen a project. Today we are actually talking about a very new film by Michael Moutsatsos. I am butchering your name, man. I am so sorry. I've never actually had to try and pronounce it, so I do apologize. We'll just show it here, and that is Ravage Nation. I literally just got this in the mail last night. I could have watched this a little bit earlier to do a review on it, but I don't like doing reviews on this channel unless I have a physical copy. I've made exceptions, especially the Anhedenia project, but I've made other exceptions in the past, but I prefer to have a physical copy because this is a channel about physical media. And I love having this in my hands, and I paid for it anyway. I want money to go to the director of this. I don't care if I hate this film, which I'll go into what I thought of the film in a minute. But even if I hate this film, I really respect I respect any type of independent creator, and I want money going into their hands. Also, I feel bad if I end up getting some sort of copy of this to watch. I would feel really bad if I saw it and didn't like it. Put it up there as like, oh, you invested poorly. So this way, I feel free, but I also feel like I'm contributing, because even if I don't care for a film, I think that others will love these types of films. So I really do think that any indie creator that you can support. Matter of fact, if you like these types of films at all, you should support them. You should go in, you should give money to your favorite creators, you should give money to new creators. Help support this community, because it's us that keep it going. So that's enough for my soapbox. Let's get into the film. Alright, so Ravage Nation essentially takes place in the kind of apocalypse. COVID went out of control, mutated, and caused a lot of problems. So the plot is very simple after that. Taking place in this world, we follow some survivors. And eventually we get into the whole Ravage Nation concept, which I will leave for you to watch this film to find out. But it does work its way in. Essentially, though, we're following a few survivors and their journeys in this very, very harsh world. There's not much else on this disc, it's just the movie. But it is kind of fun. Again, it's a beautiful cover, and it does have a nice bit of disc art there. So let's talk about the actual plot. The plot is very simple. I mean, it's just people surviving in the world. Again, I'm not sure it was my favorite per se, plot-wise, but I do think that it covered things very well. It did great on the world building. You understood what was going on. And I do think that it can build on this for later iterations. I think that it could have benefited from more like a more linear plot line, but otherwise I think that it did what it needed to do. It set out building the world that it's in. It created some very colorful and interesting characters, and that did keep me in the film. So those are the two things there. I would say that the plot, the most egregious sin this makes to me is it drags a little bit. But otherwise, it does its job. I think if you like looking at a world and diving into a post-apocalyptic world, this film actually does what it sets out to do. I left it understanding the world a lot better than when I went in. So let's talk acting. So I talked a little bit before about, I give some slack to B-movies about the acting, but I don't really need to give slack to this one because I really did like the acting in this. Yes, it is, if I'm going to put it into AAA space, no, it's not in that level, but I do think for this space, for the B-movie space, it's probably on the highest tier. Because it's really good. The actors there do an excellent job. You have one guy who's basically doing the guy from Split mixed with Heath Ledger's Joker, and it comes across very well. A lot of the characters are unhinged, as you would be in these types of worlds, and you can see it play out. The only issues I get with it is I sometimes confuse characters, but that's alright. I think that the acting was quite excellent. My hat's off, I'm not going to take my hat off, but my hat off to the actors of these particular films. You did a great job. I am quite impressed with it. Production value, I mean, I can see what they were doing, and they had a lot of cool, like, effects, like, you know, like wound effects, like, hey, look, this person's wounded, this person's arm is being chopped off. But also that resulted in things like, oh, I'm going to kill you, so I'm going to hit your hand first. Why? Because the hand's off screen. But still, I think it handled it quite well. I mean, it's kind of weird that it starts off in color and then does most of the rest of the thing either in a red or a black and white tone. I'm guessing that's more of a kind of give you that bleakness, that bleak feeling, which it does do. And the red kind of goes when you've got that particular insane character that you're following. So it kind of gives that more of a framing, a more violent aspect to it. Like I say, the zombies, so to speak, were fairly reasonable, and I kind of like the animal-human hybrid creatures that they had wandering around. I thought those were pretty cool as well. I would like to see more in this world, and from what I've heard, Phil Herman's new film will take place in the same universe, Doomsday Stories, and which is pre-ordering right now. If you're watching this at present, you can put money towards that, so that might be worthwhile. I do think that it is worth checking out because I am curious about this world and where it goes from there. I want to see more stories in this world. I want to see some kind of plot lines explored. I even want to see the actual Ravage Nation itself because they kind of waited to the end to explain it, and that's probably one of the hardest aspects of the plot, is that I thought that was really interesting and we didn't fully get it until the end. So I am looking forward to more about this. Music-wise, I think the music is good. It's got a good metal-type theme at the beginning and end. It's got some pretty good tunes. Not necessarily something I need to listen to on its own, but definitely fits the material. I'd say well worth your watch on that end. So who would like Ravage Nation? I think anybody into these types of movies will like them. I mean, I think anybody like Hardtail 666 is a good one that goes into it like that. A lot of those sequences were in like that. Anybody who likes those kind of bleak settings, who likes a world to be kind of fleshed out throughout, that enjoys world building type movies, I think that this really does fit for that. Walking Dead fans, I think so long as you're okay with kind of a little bit of a downgrade on the special effects budget, I do think that you would be fine with this. I think it would work well in that world. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it I have for Ravage Nation. It was a decent enough film. I enjoy watching it, and I think I'll watch it again in the future. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, click that like button, hit that subscribe, and share. And we'll see you on the next one.